Jason Benedict. I'm one of the co-founders of RX Ambassadors, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Dr. Amit Kakar. Hey, Amit, how we doing?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Friday to everybody.
Hey,
Hi, good
Julia, welcome to
afternoon.
the. Yeah, likewise. Tell us a little bit about your pharmacy.
Sure. Well, I'm Julia Friedman, and I'm the president of GPS Pharmacy, and we are in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know if you've been to Charlotte, but it's a wonderful city. It's one of my favorites that I've been to. But we own a specialty pharmacy there. We're a compounding pharmacy, and we have a very concierge service that we offer.
Love it. So I haven't been to North Carolina, but maybe Amit has, but I've seen it. It looks beautiful. Welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. We have a few guest speakers that we're going to be interviewing today, so we're excited to kind of dive in and get to hear more about your specialties and areas of focus. So how long have you been a pharmacist? And tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a pharmacy owner.
Sure. So, I've been a pharmacist for about a decade, so well, a little bit less than a decade, really. But we decided to open, an independent pharmacy shortly after I got out of school. So I just got out of pharmacy school. My husband was MD, PhD track, and so we're not originally from North Carolina. At the time that we decided to pursue ownership, I was working at a phenomenal pharmacy in Atlanta. It was an independent. We were doing about 2,000 scripts per day. So
Wow.
I'm sure you understand what that means, especially for an independent. So we were just a great service to the community. And so when we decided to do the ownership route, we knew I'm a creature of great gratitude, and anyone that's a stepping stone to my success, I'm forever grateful for. So we just knew we didn't want to be in the Atlanta area and ever compete with that pharmacy, who's a good friend of mine now. We help each other out a lot as pharmacy owners. But so we picked North Carolina, and at the time, we didn't know anyone there. No one knew us, so we knew we had to have a good storefront for our pharmacy. So we kind of, got in our car and drove around with our windows down and kind of felt the vibe of the city. And we picked a location that had a storefront, and it was really nice. But then within years, even a couple of years, we just knew we were going to outgrow that space. So currently we are in a new space, and it's very laboratory like. I mean, it is a full on labs. We ended up going with a modular system, and we put inside of our pharmacy 7 laboratory units. So it's really refreshing. You walk in there and it feels like the future. It really does. It's nice.
I love it. Well, maybe tell us a little bit about, because I looked at your website. So you guys do compounding, you do kind of hospice. Tell us a little bit about the mix of the business.
Sure. Yeah. So compounding is primarily what we do. Like if know of us, and our physicians and our customers know of us as a compounding pharmacy. So we don't do traditional retail. We are full on specialty compounding, and then we have a very concierge delivery service to the Carolinas as well as other states. And then the other part of our business, which is kind of my heart, this is what I did in Atlanta, is a 24-hour hospice service. And so we do operate kind of 2 models in one. And hospice, it's a very special niche, and you try to do everything you can at very low rates. Not a very profitable model by any means, especially when you offer the delivery to the doorstep. However, we're successful as compounders, and we're able to offer that to the community. So we are a specialty compounding pharmacy. However, the hospice is sort of our heart, and that's our contribution to the community that we do.
Tell us maybe a little bit about some of the compounding that you're doing. Is there specific medications that have been profitable for you? Because I know a lot of our listeners are all like, we've got some compounding, we've got some retail, we got a little mix of everything. So I always want to try and extract those bits of knowledge out of, the specialty areas. So maybe you could share a little bit more on that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share. I actually love to speak and educate. I love, new pharmacists trying to get into ownership because, when I went into the industry, I was really excited. I thought that, fellow pharmacy owners would welcome me with open arms, but I learned that, people are really protective and they don't want to share and they're scared of competition. Whereas I'm kind of the opposite. I love to share and I'm not scared of competition. I feel you can open right next door to me. My goal is to have the best service. And if you have the best service, then you're not worried, right? You're not worried someone's going to leave you. So yes, we do. We don't do traditional retail. We don't accept insurances. We are very concierge, and we do primarily men's and women's health. So majority of it is hormone replacement. We do a lot of sexual health, so erectile dysfunction. We do sexual health for females. We have a lot of proprietary formulas that are for enhanced for a female. And then the other big part of our business is veterinary. So as I say, our demographic is everybody, and we treat every species there is. So one phone call is an axolotl that needs antibiotics. And I don't know if you know what that is. It's a little creature, comes out of rivers in Mexico. But it could be a sick bunny, then it's a hormone replacement for a woman or infertility. So it is a wide range. We try to be available to everybody. So if another pharmacy can do it from another state, and it's even a unique drug, as long as it's within guidelines, then we will facilitate the patient.
I mean, I don't know if you heard that. Like for me, I love the mindset piece of how she goes into connecting with people and not looking at it as competition. So I'd love for you to kind of, add to that.
Yeah, I love that. Jill, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'd love to ask you, your knowledge base is incredible. Do you spend quite a bit of time with research and development? And how do your background knowledge, tell us a little bit about, where that comes from and what type of work you put into that?
I think it's just education. It's wanting to learn. Again, like I said, we opened the pharmacy almost a decade ago, which it went by so fast, but there's just so much to do. Right now, I feel like the industry is really, really exciting. Especially when you're a compounder, I mean, sky's the limit. You can do almost anything. And I think a lot of people will ask me, well, how did you know what to do? How do you know what compounds? I don't. You don't know. You let the customers, the providers, they tell you what they need. That's how you know what you need to do. So when we first opened the pharmacy, we wanted to do it all, but quickly you learn where the most of the need is. And then as long as you focus on that, then your service to the community is great. But you can't, I mean, you just learn. You just need to learn every single day. Every day is changing. And that's like the fun part about being an entrepreneur, about being a pharmacy owner, and just being a great pharmacy.
And Julie, one thing too, I'd like to share with the audience here. Tell us a little bit about how important is reputation and credibility to you as a pharmacist? I think a lot of us as pharmacists, we tend to put a point to underestimate how important that is. But tell us a little bit about, from your perspective, reputation and credibility, especially for your practice.
Oh, it's everything, everything. And that's why I think it's important that you don't cut corners. Everything you do, you have to do it the top, especially right now with the regulation, with 800, with, what USP is wanting from us, what FDA wants from us. You have to, if you're getting into compounding and you're wanting to just make a quick buck and do it as a side project, you're not going to be successful. You need to go in and you need to go all in. So reputation is huge. I mean, everything we do, just down to even the powders that we source, we try to be top, PCCA. If PCCA doesn't have it, you go to the next supplier. You need to know what you're getting. You need to know how to read these certificates of analysis. I talk to pharmacy owners that don't even know how to do salt form conversions. I was like, you can't compound and not know half the drugs are salt forms. You need to convert that, So it's, you have to invest a lot of time and a lot of money too, to be able to do these things. But I think the main thing is reputation is everything. And, it's funny because I feel like it should be something that we know, but a lot of people, they want to market to customers. But for us, it's our partnerships with the physicians, because when you have a physician that trusts you and your knowledge and the product, he's going to send all his customers to you. So for us, it's as important to build these relationships with physicians and educate. Like, I mean, I do presentations in offices all the time. I educate them on how different it is to get a progesterone from us versus a company down the street that's buying a powder that's a tenth of the price. That's not going to absorb through the gut. That's going to give inflammation. That's not going to go through the skin. It's too big, so particle size wise. So I think credibility is everything. It's better to take your time and invest in the best product, because then once people know and they trust you, they don't want to go anywhere else.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I can hear just your passion kind of oozing out of you, Julia. So thank you for sharing that. And I think there's a lot of knowledge, as Amit said, that you're sharing that I know other listeners are going to latch onto and probably reach out and go, hey, she's got some really great ideas and strategies. Like one of the things we've talked a lot about on this podcast is partnerships, right? Partnerships are a great way to continue to build your business, right? It's kind of what I call the one-to-many model, right? You're not going one-to-one, consumer after consumer, trying to win the hearts and minds of everybody. You're building a relationship with a physician that has access to tons of other people in the community. And of course, like you said, if you can build their trust, you can build that knowledge base with them and showcase your expertise, you're going to win the heart and mind of that physician, and they're going to want to send more business. Tell us maybe about one challenge that you faced in 2023 that, maybe derailed you from your goal, or kind of sideline you for a little bit, and how maybe you overcame that challenge.
I think our biggest challenge, honestly, it's finding really good employees, especially after COVID. So one thing with our pharmacy is, and I think what makes us successful is we try to always have more employees than the business, and then we bring the business up. We're not like retail where, a lot of people say it's a numbers game in retail right now. They want these high numbers, which, I mean, of course, we all want high numbers. It's always a numbers game. It doesn't matter if you're a baker or a restaurant owner, you want high numbers. The problem with retail is they want high numbers and they don't have the staff. And so, of course, you're not going to succeed like that. With us, it's the opposite. We have a vision, and so we know what staff we need to meet. Like, for instance, we're launching sterile within the next 30 days. So we have the vision, and we know what kinds of business is going to come. So we pre-hire staff, we pre-train, we educate, we have everyone ready to go so that we don't drop the ball. So when that business comes rolling in, you're not saying no. And so I think the biggest challenge, especially after COVID, is finding good staff, because we are so strict. And so, when we opened the pharmacy, I was telling my husband, I was like, we're never going to have turnover. Like, everyone's going to, it's a little family. This is, we pay great. We respect work-life balance. And if you look at like our, you pull down your clock sheet and it's like 100 employee names, and it's because, if people come in and they don't have the same work ethic, they don't work out in our pharmacy, because our team is like superstars. So everyone notices if someone comes in and they're not pulling their weight, or they're not as interested in the type of service to get to the level that we are. And so that's been really hard. I mean, like Indeed, I feel like we've already interviewed like everyone on Indeed, And so it's finding that caliber of technician, that caliber of pharmacist has been so much harder after COVID. Like, I'm not that old, but I'm like, I have the old school like work ethic. Like, you work your butt off, and that's rewarding. And you just don't see that as much anymore.
Yeah. But I think it starts from the top, right? Leadership starts from the top, and you have to build that culture first, and then instill that culture, right? And obviously hire to culture it. So I totally agree with you. You can tell when a new hire is off culture and they're not the right fit, or they don't have the right mindset. I mean, I know, she referenced, retail and building the business. Maybe you can speak a little bit about, some of that.
Yeah, Julia, I have a little bit of different setting where we're retail pharmacy. So I've been doing it for almost 25 years, and I'm still learning about staff. So it's still, I think COVID did kind of, I hate to keep going back to references to COVID. That drives me nuts, but I do it myself. Something about, I think with staff, I think it's just, you mentioned it, but it's just about connectability. And I think sharing your vision. I think I've also made the mistake of trying to maybe morph some individual, not patients, but staff into what I want them to be, instead of letting them be who they are. And that's something I've learned also, is let them be, but focus on their strong points versus trying to constantly change them. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. But I think you sort of focus on what they're good at and put them in that area. But I 100% agree with you. Staff, whether it's it's compounding or retail setting, it's always a challenge. And the work ethic part, 100%. Um, just coming from our background, my parents, I'm Indian, so and I feel like different cultures, different mentalities, but in general, we all want that mentality of, we're taught to work, 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 and work, and it's difficult to see this generation are up and coming. It's different, right? The work ethic is different. We all want, but what are you going to put into it to get, right? It's
Right.
the it's almost like the struggle has to equal the victory, right? We just talked about this yesterday, and if you're not, we all want small struggles and big victories, and it's not going to happen, right? So just these kind of the things you have to completely emphasize and share, and then your staff has to share in your vision. That's the key. You mentioned that, right? How important that is. So
So,
staff is everything. They're representation of you as well. So.
yeah.
So, Julie, maybe tell us a little bit about how you've created kind of a work-life balance, because I know that's one of the big topic that we hear a lot about, right? Is, being understaffed, working sometimes 6, 7 days a week. How have you created a balance for yourself with you and your staff?
So I guess I'll talk about staff because myself versus the staff, our lead, the owners of the pharmacy, which is myself, my husband, and we just brought um, my brother, who's a pharmacist. He's also an owner. So that our work life is a lot different than staff work life. But for our team, I have always valued that. You gotta work hard and you gotta play hard. So when it comes to our pharmacy, I mean, we have the luxury of, for our staff, for our team, it's Monday through Friday, all the weekends off. We pay extremely well, which allows for a really great life balance. But I think my biggest thing is I think to date, since we've opened, I have never said no to a time off request. I have gone in, I have had pharmacists come in to work, for, a technician, because to me it's so important. Our techs work so hard. And for them to be able to ask off and say, I want to go to this concert, I want to go outside, with my family on a trip. And for you to say no, that's just, how could you do that to someone that's worked so hard? So we really value that, and we tell our staff that. So to me, it's scheduling. So our staff, if you need time off, you got it. We figured it out. Even when we were small, like right now we have, oh my goodness, we have 5 pharmacists, 10 techs, and a whole host of, drivers that work for us. But even when it was just two, three, four of us, we just made it work. You needed off, you got off, and I think that's huge. The other thing is like I said, pay. I mean, you have to invest in your team. You have to make it a career for them. No one wants to work for $15 an hour for the rest of their life. Absolutely not. So your payroll is our payroll is a huge investment in our company. But then at the end of the day, that team, it's value to them. They're able to buy cars and houses and build a business, build a life for their family because your business is successful. And then as we grow, we don't have caps. We have no caps. You can be a technician making a pharmacist salary. If we're growing because of you, you're going to see those benefits. And so I think that's what contributes to that work life.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that contributes to a lower turnover rate, happier staff, which equals happier patients and just continued kind of growth. So we've got a few more minutes before we're going to bring on our next guest, but I'd love for you to share a couple of things. One, I'd love for you to share, what are you focused on this year to create more growth or innovation in your pharmacy?
Oh my gosh, what are we not focused on so much? So we're launching our sterile labs. We are excited about that. There's a lot of sterile over the years that, it's just, there's a huge need. So we're so excited. We're going to bring on infusion therapy. We're going to bring on injectables for erectile dysfunction. I really want to get into the autologous eye drops. Those are fantastic. And then our vision for the future, hopefully in the next 5 years, is 503B. We want to be close to FDA. We want to be able to do things without needing a patient name to be able to get to, products into institutional settings and doctors' offices, not really be bound by the interstate transit and everything. So it's huge. Right now, the biggest focus this year is 800. We're already done. We're fully, we were fully compliant, and I'm actually excited for that to actually start getting, 800 is a kind of a double edge. It's sad because I've seen just this last week there were 3 pharmacies, big ones, that shut their compounding down because, you know, for whatever reason, one we call them and we say, hey, you know, what's going on? You know, can we service patients that you're no longer able to service? And you know, some of it's just older pharmacy owners. You know, they're in their 70s, they're not wanting to do the upfit, and so on one end, it's really sad because it kind of ends an era of pharmacies that were compounding. But on the other side, it's such a service to people because the people that are going to be compounding are going to do it correctly, right? They're going to have the labs, they're going to be vented out, they're going to know what they're doing. So our focus right now is really, there's a lot of business right now that's going to not have a compounder, and so it's to bring on that business and do sterile, and then you know, we always gotta have the next vision. So 503B will be next for us.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Well, one last question for you. And maybe Amit, if you want to chime in and ask another one, we're good. We'll bring on the next guest after that. What advice do you have for other pharmacists that are either considering going down the path of compounding, or maybe they've been a retail pharmacy and they're considering bringing compounding in? What advice would you have?
So like I said, you got to go all in. So I think I'd like to consult. So I have a lot of pharmacists wanting to open independent pharmacies or wanting to go into compounding, and you know, they ask like, what do you think the minimum? You know, do you think I can do this for like 150K? You can do most anything at a minimum, but I think if you're wanting to be successful, you have to go all in. You got to put your skin in the game and do it right. Like, make the investment. Yeah, it may take you a year or two to make that investment back, but you will, and you're going to be a leading pharmacy for the rest of your life. So whatever it is that you're wanting to do, take that, make it whatever you're wanting to do, times it by 5 and go all in. And that would be my biggest advice.
And